Hello everyone. Got another drop for you. Man, it is cold. It is -5 actual temperature here with the wind of 13 making it -25, so it got pretty cold today. I got a drop for you. This is one of two today. This will be the first one to come out at 5. The next one will come out at 8 o'clock. So let's get into it. This one is called The Cornfield Creature. Frank saw a creature he could not identify in a cornfield. Frank saw a creature he could not even fathom was in the cornfield. I used to work at a cheese factory on the edge of a cornfield in southwestern Minnesota. There were a series of days in the summer of '04 and '05 where it was so hot that the milk being delivered to us in the trucks would evaporate before we got it. It made work easy. The dearth of the milk denied us any actual labor, but management wouldn't let us not come to work, so we would show up and mess around all shift. I was working nights at the time. It was 2 or 3 a.m., and I was out on the loading dock watching bats fly around and floodlights because I liked being out there in the cool night air. The corn was about as high as my shoulder, so about 5 foot, some of it was 10 foot. As I was watching the bats, I looked down at the edge of the cornfield. Something was not moving. Or something was moving there. It was the size of a small child and very, very skinny, pale, with something that looked like the head of a straight black hair. It moved in sort of a jerky gait, like something dancing. Maybe dancing like the robot? Badly. It moved in chunks, legs and hips and torso, shoulders, neck, and finally head. It was looking back into the cornfield, or at least I felt like it was. I felt prickly all over. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was maybe a heroine or a heron or something at first, but it looked too much like a person. It didn't move like a person, though. Gradually, step by step, it moved toward me, letting my curiosity get the better of me, and the better of my fear. I moved toward the edge of the dock, which was raised a few feet from the ground. When I got within a few feet of the edge, the thing looked up at me. I was paralyzed. I could have run, but I was stuck somewhere between terrified and intrigued. It moved its face, still pointed at me. It ratcheted its body in the disconcerting jerky movement toward the cornfield and went into it. I tried to watch where the cornfield moved, and it passed, but the corn remained perfectly still. I noticed that all the crickets were silent. After a few minutes, nothing happened. I stood out there for an hour, but it never came back. I never saw it again. A lot of workers at work have now been talking about seeing a small creature running around the milk trucks. Some of them even believe that this creature may be eating the corn in the cornfield and coming up for a drink of warm milk at night. What do you guys think? Are we sharing milk with these creatures? I think that's a really weird story. I would hate to think that it was drinking out of the milk that we would be drinking out of. But it probably is. I mean, if there's milk out there and there's a way to get to it, why not, right? It'd be something easy to drink and you got corn. This next one is called The Forest Cryptid. It's another short encounter it was sent in. The creature slithered through the grass like a snake, yet climbed a tree like a cat. The creature slithered through the grass, and it was so awkward looking. This is my strange story. My strange story took place on the 26th of September 2009. My church was on retreat in Indiana, in the forest. The place we stayed at was a small building in the center of the forest. We decided that evening to go out and play in the forest with the children, so we came up with a game to play. It was like police. The kids were the police, and we would pick an adult to be the hostage. So when we began the game, we had to find out the adult hiding in the forest and in the middle of the night. So we start going around the back of the building, and we spotted a tall figure. It had to be at least 6 foot tall. It was running toward the trees where there was a small opening area with the tall grass that goes up to your knees. It ran with its arms at its side, but it stopped at the edge of the tall grass as if it was to wait for us to get closer. We chased after it, thinking it was an adult. When we were finally a few yards away, it dove into the grass and started to crawl very fast, almost like a snake. We got weirded out, but it stood there, and we stood there, and we were staring at it. When it got across the tall grass, it began to climb a tree. It looked somewhat like a deformed cat-like animal when it was climbing, kind of like a half cat, half man. Then a few moments later, a kid yelled, "I seen," and we all pointed in the opposite direction. We saw a similar figure running a couple of yards away. So we started to crawl very fast, almost snake-like. We got weirded out. These things were all doing the same things when it got across there. Turns out a few minutes later, we found the adult hiding in the parking lot in front of the building the whole time. So we're not sure what this thing was, but we know that whenever everybody came in, the adults were sitting outside. One of them yelled for the rifle. One of the adults ran inside and grabbed the rifle, and of course we were all playing inside, and we had asked them what had happened. They said there was somebody messing around out in the field. Whenever they shined their floodlight into the field, they seen it run away on two legs. They described it as something looking somewhat like a panther, but running on its hind legs. It had a long tail, and when it got to the trees, it leaped into the trees from one tree to the next in the tops, climbing and jumping until it disappeared. And then it let out the scream that nobody will ever forget. It was the loudest scream you'd ever heard. It echoed right through your chest. What do you think this was? I'm not sure what this would be. We have a lot of things in our woods I don't believe are just werewolves and Bigfoot. I believe that there's a whole variety of things that's DNA was messed with a long time ago. And I think that the Bigfoot and the werewolves are talked about the most because they're probably some of the largest that are seen more. But I believe there's smaller things out there, maybe things that are even more stealthier, like a cat, how well they're good at hiding and climbing and stalking their prey. Maybe that's why we don't see them as much. Some are better at some things than others. What do you guys think? Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget there's another drop at 8 o'clock tonight. Keep your head on a swivel. Thank you for the support for Hunter. All the links are in the description to help him if you are able to. We appreciate that. And until next time, guys, God bless you, and we'll see you on the next one.